Hey everybody, Alex here, and welcome to another exciting episode of Video Games Gaiden. Today I'm joined by my number one co-host, or recurring co-host, Emperor Foxx. Foxx, how you doing, man?
Greetings, greetings. Thanks for having me on. I cut you off there for a sec, but I'm excited to do another episode of this. Hopefully, I'll be on much more to come.
Well, at the clip we're going, I think it's going to be, I would say pretty often, but then again, nobody beats games as fast as I do. So,
Fair enough.
which is a problem, which is a very big problem. It tells me I have way too much time on my hands. So what you been up to?
Oh, not much. Just taking it easy. It's after the holidays, so everybody's tired and hates winter now. So waiting for spring to come around. Playing some Grandia HD because it's been a hot minute since I played the original Grandia. I'm enjoying that playthrough, and I'm also just dabbling in a little just quick play games, a little Slay the Spire here, some Stardew Valley, maybe a couple Hades runs. Just taking it easy and playing some low key games until I dive into my next big RPG.
Any idea what that's going to be?
I'm conflicted. Thinking either Ease 8, uh, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, or Blue Reflection.
Ooh, you know, all those are good. Um, except he's 8. We all know Oten Felgana is the better one. Um, man, that's actually
That's an
really.
option too. That's coming out here, what, next week? The
I
remake?
think it already did, as of this recording.
Oh,
Not to date it
my.
or anything.
I guess it hasn't come out. I haven't gotten my copy yet of the remake.
I have not procured one myself yet. Katie's mom got me a Best Buy gift card for Christmas. So I was like, ooh, sweet, I can buy all these games without spending money. But I'm like, I want them to be on sale so I can maximize the gift card. And considering I got away with murder on waiting for uh, Trails from Daybreak to go down in price, like I'm kind of playing with fire again with the Felgana remake to see if I can get lucky on that too. Because I mean, it took a while, but I did get Daybreak eventually for $39.
That's impressive. On the Switch?
No, on the
That
PS5.
one has gotten stupid and I did not buy it, so I don't think I will be now.
VGP will do the Lord's work once again in a couple of months from now, and
That's true.
they'll set us all up and take all our money instead of the scalpers. So so anyway, obviously you're still doing YouTube. You've been cracking packs like crazy, and
Hmm.
I really like how now you put the value at the top because I can feel disappointed as I see your hands moving slower and slower opening these packs because you're like, okay.
Another garbage pack. Yay.
Do you weigh them or anything? I know that's like a thing.
I dabbled with that, especially when Lorcana first came out and was testing because, you would think there's that enchanted rare, which is a heavy foil. You would think it would weigh different, and it never amounted to much of anything. I saw multiple people try it, and they pulled an enchanted out of the lightest pack they had, and they're like, "What? That doesn't make any sense."
I never really understood all that. I mean, I understand it, but it's like one of those things like I like opening packs. I just find it kind of cathartic, you know? Like even these stupid digital things where it's like, like with the Pokemon ones where you like swipe your finger and it's like ripping off the top. And I'm like, I could never do that in real life. I got to pull it out from the back so that way I can put the cards back in so they don't get damaged in my pocket if I was like running around as a kid. That's what I always did. So, um
Yes, same here,
but I
man. Well,
remember years ago when I got back into Yu-Gi-Oh, I bought a box of I forgot the name of the set, but I bought the box specifically because it had all these Dark Magician based cards, which is what my deck is geared around. So I was like, even if I get a bunch of garbage, 99% of these cards I need. So I sat in the living room with this box, got myself a beer, and I had the best afternoon of my life. Just listening to music, drinking Miller High Life, and opening up packs of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. for 3
It is.
hours.
It's the best just to sit there and open packs. That's why I do that. And I thought, like, I could film shorts all day long with these. This will be fun.
So that leads into my first random question. What is the one, we'll say, card game, collectible card game, or just trading card pack that you actually dislike doing openings of?
Ah, well, at first it was Yu-Gi-Oh because I did not understand the rarities at all.
Oh,
They
they don't
were
make any
all over the
sense.
place.
They don't make any sense.
They don't make any sense. They're like, oh, is that a quarter century rare, or this is a super secret rare, and this and this. I was like, how the hell do you tell the difference? They don't put a marking on the card to tell you the rarity. And it's one of the
Shadowless.
few TCGs that I've ever opened that does not mark the rarity on the card. So, I would have to stick probably with Yu-Gi-Oh being the roughest to open. They got some beautiful cards though that are fun to open, but just not knowing rarities and not being, a Yu-Gi-Oh player, it's hard to understand. Except for those key cards like Dark Magician or the Blue Eyes Dragon and all that stuff. But other than that, you're like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm opening this card. I don't know. I don't know if that's good or not.
Blue Eyes White Dragon. Oh, Joey Wheeler. Oh, Joey. Oh man, I really I'm actually sad to hear that. I always thought it would be something obscure like the Star Trek TCG or something like that.
Hey, that's a little foreshadowing because I opened up a couple old '90s Star Trek packs of cards.
Oh,
Oh,
in-
yeah, that'll
interesting.
be fun. They're not a TCG. They're just the stupid random like collector cards. They made them like shows and
Oh, got it.
cartoons and crap like that.
Not like the Scooby Doo mystery cards and all that stuff.
Yeah,
All right. So next question for you. Okay, so that's interesting. See, I really enjoy all the card stuff, but more importantly, I do have to know when you're not playing video games and you're not at work and you're not asleep, what is your other hobby that you enjoy doing the most? Or opening cards?
not or well, I do a lot of card opening, but since we already talked about card opening, I'd have to say probably watching TV or movies. I love to go to the movie theater. If there's a movie I'm interested in, I will go to the movie theater to watch it. I usually see about 30 to 40 movies a year at the theater.
Really?
Um, yes, I love going to the theater. Most of the time, that's just by myself, and I do not care one bit.
You know,
Other than that, yeah, I'll watch old TV shows. I love Star Trek, so I'm always watching some show of Star Trek or anime. I watched a lot of anime. I just finished Frieren. Really enjoyed that one.
I haven't watched that one. I'm slowly watching Dragon Ball Daima. I kind of just wait for like 2 or 3 episodes as a buffer, and then I can spend a Sunday just watching it, and then I wait again. Um, so far, I've seen Goku get one Dragon Ball, and let me tell you, even though the fight wasn't like crazy over the top like we're used to, the animation is second to none in that show. Like you could tell, unlike the first 100 episodes of Super, there's actually a budget uh, within the show. It is beautifully drawn. It is so good.
I'm excited. I'm waiting for the dub though. That's later this month.
Heathen. All right, here we go. So you go to the movies 40 times. We'll say you see about 40 to 50 movies a year, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that leads into the final random question. We're going to say your top 3 movies of all time. However, you have to erase one from existence, one you have to recast 2 of the main characters, and then the third one you have to change the director to somebody else.
That's rough. So I'm going to go with my number one movie of all time to start with. And I definitely don't want to erase it from time. And I really don't see changing out the two characters. So it had to be a new director, which is. But anyway, that movie's Back to the Future.
Oh.
So I can't see replacing the characters. Definitely don't erase it from time, but
Be kind of ironic.
getting rid of Zemeckis as the director is also a bad thing because he helped write the movie after all. Yeah, so I'll have to go with the directors because that's the lesser of the evils there. Other top two movies, that's really difficult.
Well,
Okay,
who would you make the director then?
Spielberg.
I was
I
going to
think he
say
would
that
be able to pull it off.
that's probably the closest one.
Second movie is Stand By Me.
Another good one.
So I guess I'm gonna have to replace the cast, replace the boys. That's gonna be difficult. That's gonna be difficult. Oh, and the third movie, this is gonna be hard because I try to categorize, some of my top films of all time, and it's constantly moving around. So I'm gonna have to go with. This is tough. That's gonna have to race from time. So I'm gonna go with Gone in 60 Seconds.
Okay, no big loss.
Exactly. And that's because I really can't think of a number three right now, and I'm staring at the VHS right next to me. So
Well, at least you didn't say the critically acclaimed Keanu Reeves film Point Break, because that would have made me upset.
it would
So
have made me upset too.
who would you recast for Stand By Me though? Like who would you replace? Like let's just say two people, just to make it easy.
It's two people. Okay. Well, you can get rid of Jerry O'Connell, and you could just put the kid who played Chunk from the Goonies in there. I think he'd work fine. And then next one I'd say you'd have to drop would probably be Will Wheaton. And who would I replace him with?
Joey Lawrence.
Joey Lawrence. That's it. Shoot, because I'm trying to think of the time frame and say but Stand By Me came out what, 87, I think.
Something like that, yeah. There's
So
that time
Macaulay
frame of like
Culkin was too young.
yeah.
How about that kid that played in The Last Starfighter? Yeah.
Nameless kid from the last
The
Starfighter.
Last Starfighter. I don't remember the actor's name. Sorry. Some of the kid actors I'm not too familiar with in some of these 80s movies.
Well, a bunch of them like that's all they did. Like, like in terms of acting. Like there's a YouTube channel I watched, I can't remember the name of off the top of my head because the algorithm told me I wanted to watch it. And basically this individual just like finds all these child actors that just don't act anymore. Like he tracks them down on LinkedIn and everything. One of them is like an insurance salesman. Like they have normal jobs. And
Wow.
and that's actually how I found out to touch on my stupid wrestling obsession as of late. That's how I found out about Maven Huffman, who has a channel about like the inner workings of like how wrestling actually works. He
Watch some of his stuff.
It's really cool. Like I actually like now that when I watch, I'm like, oh, that's what's going on over there. And then I'm like, oh no, he's hurt. And my wife is like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, they're making the X. That means he's actually hurt. And like all this other stuff. And she's like, doesn't that kind of ruin it? And I was like, no, it makes me more engaged. But like guys like him, like he apparently works for like uh a capital management firm as like an account manager or something. And mind you, he was a pro wrestler for like 8 years or something. And I'm just like, that's wild. Like, how's that happen?
Doesn't pan out, unfortunately.
No, but you know what else doesn't pan out? Strategy games.
Ooh, I'm excited. One of my
Yes.
favorite genres.
One of mine too. So obviously today we're talking about strategy games, and we're going to start vague because I would like to know when you actually discovered the genre of strategy games and how you got into it in the first place. Because me thinking about how I got into it, I feel like it was kind of by mistake. So what do you got?
All right. So my first strategy game that I ever played was FF Tactics, and I could not get into it. I don't know what it was. I just could not get into it. I didn't understand. I was like, where this there's too many gaps in between the story. The battles take too long. Blah blah blah. Mind you, I was a youngling for RPGs. The best I played was Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger. Your shoe-in starter RPGs, if you will. And so I couldn't get into it. So the following year, my buddies ended up buying a Sega Saturn, and they were playing games, and we were always playing games together on Sega Saturn. And I got addicted to a game called Dragon Force. And
That's a good one.
of all strategy RPGs, that's the one that hooked me, which was kind of odd because it's definitely a different style of strategy RPGs. It's not your typical grid. So I fell in love with that, and I liked learning how to move my armies and stuff like that, and changing the way they would fight during the battle. It was, I fell in love with it. I like the little excellent working designs translation and adding the comedic lines and all that stuff to everything that the characters were saying, how the characters would talk to each other. If you brought different generals here, different actions would happen, and there were so many things happening, and I loved it. So that was my first love of strategy RPG.
See, and I find that kind of funny because first off, Final Fantasy Tactics is like the most complicated game in the world. If you like watch all these wacky videos and research it, there's like 30 subsystems going on in the background. But Dragon Force is a much slower game by comparison. At least I think it is. And I finished both, by the way. Um, but what is it that kind of got you over that hump with Dragon Force? Was it just like the grand scale, the battles and all that, and the artwork?
I think it was. It was the fact that you would be able to have these very large battles, up to 100 versus 100 troops, but you got to change out what your troops were. All your generals had personalities and stuff, so I could get connected to the characters of the games, the generals, and I'd want to move them around and give them different troops to attack the different enemies depending on who you're going after. So I it was very big, but I kind of enjoyed the pace of the game. It was a week by week. And so I'd start up the week, you would do all your stuff in your personal castle, you would do recruitments and all that stuff, and fortify castles or search castles, blah, blah, blah. And then you go into the battle phase where you would move your troops all over this giant map and try to take over castles or try to recruit different people. I just enjoyed that pacing, I think, was really what triggered with me. It wasn't too fast. You could pause it at any time to strategize, think about what you're doing. Oh, crap, they're sending an army out in the field. Never mind, I'm backing away, and stuff like that. I loved it.
Yeah, and I think the plot is also, at least for me as a younger person, it was a lot easier to follow than this weird, like, Shakespearean, like, dialect that was going on in Tactics. Like, I enjoyed Tactics as a tactical fan, but I also had no idea what was going on half the time. Like I was like, so let me get this straight. Like these two guys are friends, but not really. I didn't realize it was like a whole play off of like, a traditional Shakespearean tragedy and all this stuff. It was too smart for me. Like as an adult, I look at it and I'm like, oh man, I'd eat this up today. Where's the remake? But I actually got into strategy games, and I said by mistake because I kind of think SimCity is technically a strategy game. I mean, yeah, it's a city management thing, but I got that on the Super Nintendo. And honestly, there's like graphically, there's nothing going on. You know, there's the residential, the commercial, and the industrial. And I would sit there for hours doing basic urban planning, you know, just to like figure out the best ratios of all that stuff. And I'd sit there, I'd get everything nice and organized, I'd have a decent population, I'd manipulate taxes, not knowing what taxes actually were. And I would get the economy in the perfect place. I'd build a baseball stadium, and then I would have Bowser come and destroy the whole thing. And I would do that over and over again. And for me, it was all about how fast can I do it, you know? So I was constantly refining the strategy behind it. And I must have played SimCity on the Super Nintendo for like 5 years on and off, like just going back and forth. But have you ever dabbled in real time strategies like Warcraft or anything?
Yeah, see, and you just popped that memory in my head when you were talking SimCity. I was like, shit, I forgot about PC. And I did a
Ah,
lot of PC gaming in the 90s, and I played Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2 a lot. And I'd have to say, probably Warcraft 2 was probably my first, now that I think about it, my real first true strategy game that I fell in love with. So I played a lot of real time strategies. Also, during that time, I played a small sim, like city like game made by LucasArts. What was it? Limbo, I think it was called. And it was, or no, I think it was called Afterlife.
black and
Anyways, it
white?
was like where, no,
No, that's a
but
Peter
you would build
Molyneux
this,
game.
yeah, you'd play this city building type of game, but it was with souls who are in limbo, you know, in between the heaven and hell thing. And you build a city in limbo. And it was very interesting and weird. I got it in one of those Lucas Arts volume packs of games, you know, it would come with a bunch of the point and click adventures. And then that was one of the games, and I ended up playing it a lot. I think it was called Afterlife.
Did,
But yeah, so now I think about it, yeah, definitely Warcraft 2 would probably actually be my honest and true answer there.
yeah, because Warcraft 1, I'll be honest, like, I was too dumb to figure out how to play it, but it is such a terrible game in comparison to Warcraft 2. It is so bad. And they just made a remaster of it, and part of me is really tempted, but I also have PTSD from it because I'll never forget I spent out like the building of troops took forever, and I must have spent like 4 hours getting one orc on a wolf, and I was so thrilled, and then he died. And then and then that was it. But Warcraft 2, one of my buddies in grammar school had it. Grammar school, like 8th grade, something like that. And what we used to do is we would go over to his house because he was the only one who had a computer. Like, you know, you know the drill. The kid with the computer, his parents had a ton of money, but in reality, dad really just needed because he had to do taxes. You know, he thought he needed a whole computer to do his taxes, which is what his dad thought. And all he did was play Duke Nukem and Warcraft 2. So we would go over there and we play Warcraft 2 all the time, and we would do, you know, computer to computer hookup because his other neighbor had a PC and Warcraft 2, and we'd have the cable because we weren't allowed to go on the internet, and we would basically just, you know, battle each other back and forth. But we had a rule, and this rule actually persisted all the way to StarCraft, where you couldn't attack each other for 1 hour because the idea was you would have like a decent enough city where you didn't just wipe each other out. And then we would get bored and never finish the match. But yeah,
It got too powerful.
I played so much Warcraft 2, and I used to be able to do it, and I may blow out the mic, but I'm going to try to do it anyway. Something to doing?
Jug jug.
Jug jug. More work.
Yes.
Oh my god! I honestly I always played humans, but for some reason, just the way the orcs stop that clicking. You know,
Yeah.
I just always had fun with it. And then, did you ever play Civilization or anything like that, or is that like
I
too
didn't
much?
get into Civilization back when I was a kid. It was I did some SimCity 2000. Um
3000 was my jam.
and then I did I think that was it. I played a little Sim Ant. Remember those?
I remember Sim Tower. Sim Tower, I played a lot of that one too. Um, but I think that's like the fun thing about strategy games. It's like, it's like obviously like we have like strategy RPGs, but it kind of blends into different things too.
Yep.
But have you ever played, I think this would be right up your alley. Have you ever heard of Heroes of Might and Magic?
Oh, yes,
That
absolutely.
is that is like the perfect mesh of strategy, turn-based board game and RPG. Like in my opinion, I played so much Heroes of Might and Magic 2 growing up. Like just scenario after scenario. And the games would take weeks. It was so much fun.
It's
And
awesome.
and the artwork was so great. But I think like when it came to consoles and whatnot, Final Fantasy Tactics is really what got me more so into it. But I also think for me, like I would play a strategy RPG, right? And I would just be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is fun. Disgaea was actually the one that made me start to think more strategically, like as opposed to just making stuff that hits stuff,
Mm,
you know? Um,
okay.
So like when you play a strategy game, like how do you typically set up your team? Do you do like the traditional RPG thing or do you min max? Like I always find this interesting to hear how people approach these things.
I guess my traditional party formation would be, it depends on how many troops you're allowed to have. Let's make it simple, like eight. I would usually run with two tanks, two that can just absorb damage, and then honestly, the rest would be ranged. I would be a heavy ranged person, whether it be magic, archers, or even, and then like a healer, or I'd have like some of my other range people do like subbing in micro heals just to keep the tanks alive and stuff like that. But that would be a pretty traditional tactic I would use. Um, but like things like Fire Emblem and stuff like that, I would really just do. I would do the distraction and flank tactics all the time in Fire Emblem. I would get that super fast character that can go a million blocks and could either like hide, or shadow themselves or something, and take those around and just flank from the sides while I've had a tank or a small army distract from the front. I have all kinds of tactics. It depends on the game. It's just so much fun. I just love planning and strategizing all these type of games. It's very fun to me.
So you have the confidence to send a tank in by himself in Fire Emblem knowing that permadeath is looming over his head.
Always permadeath on too. Don't mess around. It's always permadeath.
Listen, that's some elite nonsense you're throwing around over there. You gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. You don't want anybody getting upset. No, no, but so it's the reason why I bring up Fire Emblem is you mentioned like dual tanks, flanking, all that. With Fire Emblem, because of the permadeath, I take more of a ranged approach to keep everybody alive. Like I will only send in my main character, like we'll say Crom or my girl Lucina, when I know there's no way in hell they can die. Like other than that, I'm like in the back with mages picking away. Or in the case of Awakening, I send in Frederick and just pound him with heals from behind with a healer, and then everybody else is just taking pot shots. Like I just do not have the confidence to do that. Um, as opposed to something
It's
like
it's a lot of
Disgaea.
planning. A
As
lot of
opposed to
planning. I mean,
yeah,
sorry.
no, no, that's fine. As opposed to something like Disgaea, where I'm thinking of combos. Like if I go from this guy to this guy, you can bounce and all this other stuff. Um, and
Yep.
one fun thing about this guy is you can actually throw bad guys off the map.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have yet to play a Disgaea game, and that's a little shame here. Even as a strategy fan, I have yet to play a Disgaea game.
So as a working
But
designs fan and a strategy RPG fan, this should be at the top of your list. Disgaea. It
it
is.
should be.
It is very zany, very anime. I think you'd really like them.
Well, I did play one series that's kind of Disgaea-ish, and that's Record of Agris War. And that game's all based off of your combos, stuff like that too.
How is that? Because I was looking at
I
it on and off, and I got it on the Switch, and again, I look at them and I don't play them. Uh,
oh, welcome to the club. Um, I liked the first record of War, and I was playing Zero for a while too, and then Squirrel got distracted and pulled away for various reasons. So I would still go play more Agrospore games. They're long and fun, and I think you would enjoy them because it's very much kind of like the way Disguise worked. It's not so much, you know, keeping your whole party alive and stuff. It's more based on can you get these guys to combo to get extreme and maximum damage. That's what you want to do.
Yeah, because my strat, besides Fire Emblem, me just being distance, and I kind of alluded to this when we were messaging back and forth today. My typical strategy is I have to kill them before they kill me most of the time, where I am just about maximum damage in the shortest amount of time, very much like a glass cannon. Um, but like in a game like Ogre Battle, which I'm just going to come out and say right now, Ogre Battle, not Tactics Ogre. I cannot stand Ogre Battle.
It's tough to get into.
It is by far the most frustrating strategy game I have ever played. And it has some of the best artwork too, and it breaks my heart.
I want to reapproach Ogre Battle. I'm same boat as you, 100%. But now that I've become more veteran in strategy RPGs, I would like to revisit like Ogre Battle 64 and just give it another shot.
Oh, I'm talking about the PlayStation 1 one.
Well, I got that one too, but
I tried to play it a few years ago. It was during one of my backlog challenges where I was like, I had to play one retro game a month. And that month I decided to play Ogre Battle. And my wife, who she's seen me get frustrated at games, she's seen me get really agitated. But she even said, I've never seen you get frustrated at such a slow paced game before. She's like, usually it's like a Dark Souls. I know it's only a matter of time before he starts cursing. She's like, you were just sitting there and I could see the steam coming out of your head. Like, these fuckers don't move fast enough. God damn it. Come on, you know? And then I died like in one map. Like, no, not one map, in like 2 moves on the first map. And I was like, okay, I'm out. I'm out.
I don't get it.
Tactics Ogre, on the other hand, is phenomenal. I don't know if you've played that one
Yes.
yet.
I played the PSP port,
Yeah.
Let Us Cling Together.
Yeah, that's one I
Excellent.
played.
Beautiful game, too.
That final
Man,
boss, man, that one, that was a test of endurance, that last boss. Like I could not do enough damage. And it was literally one of those like, take a shot and run away, take a shot and run away, take a shot and run away.
You did what you had to do.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like Little League. It's like a win is a win. I don't care if you're beat up.
Absolutely. There's just too many good ones to.
But going back to Fire
about.
Emblem, with the
Yeah.
permadeath, when you do have somebody die due to permadeath, do you save scum it or do you just carry on? Really?
No, I accept my mistake and let it go, and I'll
Ooh.
be mad for a long time. Especially if it's a character I really like, I will take it and I'll be like, "Well, damn, there she went. She's gone. She's out of my life now." I'm like, time to continue on. Next man up. But I'm usually very, very careful. But Fire Emblem games take me forever to finish because I will sit there, there'll be a new battle, and I'll get on there and I'll spend probably a good 30 minutes strategizing, looking at the map, looking at all the characters. Where are they at? Who's going to do this? What's that guy over here doing? Okay, I got to be careful. Got to move this way, move that way, and plan it. And then I go and battle. So, yeah, usually like Fire Emblem Gage, I think I took, what's that? It's not a terribly long game, a 50-hour game.
No.
50-hour game. I think I spent 75 on it just because I'm slow. Because I don't want to lose my character.
So here's a question then. I'm going back to this because I'm beginning to see a theme here. So your first strategy game, arguably, we'll say, was Final Fantasy Tactics, which is a huge, slow, clunky game. Dragon Force is your favorite, which is a very long game, right? In terms of design mechanics and the way it plays out. And then even after you beat it, guess what? There's more stuff to do.
Mhm.
Yet you're perfectly comfortable with taking your time playing strategy games now. Do you find like as you've gotten older that the strategy part of it is more appealing than it was for you as a kid? Or is it like the battle systems are just refined?
No, it's just now I have more patience. I love the strategy part of the game. That's it just clicks with me so much more now. That's probably why I had so much love for Unicorn Overlord. That
Mm-hmm.
was ultimate strategy through and through, you know. So I really dig planning everything, strategizing. I love to play like board games. I love to play board games, but I'm sitting there and I'm thinking everybody else is taking their turn and they're laughing in between turns, drinking and stuff like that. Here, I'm thinking of like, okay, if he does that, then I got to go over here and I got to do this and that. That's just the way my mind works nowadays.
It's more analytical.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think yeah, that I find I'm more micromanaging when it comes to my strat. Like I have to I'll spend hours like optimizing a character, right? Like I'll use Fire Emblem as an example. Like I decide Lucina's my girl. She's gonna get all the best stuff. She's gonna get all the best gear. Robin, me, he's just gonna throw magic. I don't care.
Hmm.
And then I'm gonna have somebody else healing in the background, and I'm gonna have Archer A or whatever their name is. I don't remember. And we're just gonna rock with it the whole game. And I optimize, and then Frederick just because Frederick's a wall, and that
Yeah.
was my entire team throughout most of the game. And then I leveled up. What's his name? The villager Pavel or Paul or whatever his name is.
Oh, the one who sucked so bad at the beginning of the game. You had to level him up, and he became really good by the end of the game.
I optimized the hell out of that motherfucker. Let me tell you. By the end, he soloed the last boss pretty much.
Oh,
And
that
but I
I
will
got
admit,
stories about that game.
with Fire Emblem though, I try not to save scum, but I do try to make it a point not to lose anybody. But my rule is if I lose somebody and it's a boss fight, then they're gone. Like if it's a bullshit fight along the way, then I'll scum it. But if it's a boss fight, like I consider that like plot, like there's no plot armor at that point.
Okay. Okay.
So that's how I think of it. But who is the most painful character you ever lost?
Ooh. I think I'd have to go back to Awakening. Fire Emblem Awakening. And some of my favorite characters who, like yourself, I would make sure they had the best gear. I would focus on them, make sure they had, stuff like Tharja. I liked using Tharja a lot.
She was
And then
really
I
good.
had she was excellent. And the kid that comes from her in the main character is like a tank archer. It's wicked weird. Anyway, so the Pegasus Knight girl, Cordelia, I believe
Yes.
her name was.
The redhead?
I was
Was she
using
redhead?
Pearl. Yes, yes. I loved that character too. And I kept on using her. And then one boss fight, I think there was one of those secret troops that comes out of one of the sides or something, how Fire Emblem likes to roll. Well, she happened to be off on her own because she was fetching gear and stuff, finding stuff on the map. Out came a freaking party of archers and killed her. I was so mad, but it was a boss battle, just like you said. I had to let her go.
Have you ever played any of the Super Robot Wars games?
The DS one
Any of them?
was
There's a lot.
yeah, that one. Shoot, Super Robot Tenjin OG Saga, I
No, there's
believe it's
so
called.
yeah, so that one is Endless Frontier is kind of like Project Cross Zone.
Yeah.
But Super Robot Wars, Super Robot Tyson, those are the traditional strategy RPGs. There's OG is their stuff, and then there's the ones with like Evangelion and Gundam and all that stuff. The
Oh, okay.
If you're a fan of giant robot anime, my recommendation for these games is look up who is in each game, find who has a majority of your favorite characters, and just play that one. Because ultimately they're all the same. It's like, oh, it's a crossover, and somehow our dimensions got tied up. I guess we got to fix it. And that's really
It's like,
all it is. But like Code Geass is in it, all the Gundam stuff. Magic Knight Ray Earth is in one of them. Like,
really?
yeah, the licensing is ridiculous on the latest
That's
batch of them,
awesome.
and the attacks are completely over the top. Like
As they should be.
if it's from the show, they pretty much emulate it frame for frame. And at least back in the day, you could have paid extra for the premium version, which had the licensed music. Otherwise, you got like cruddy midis. But have you ever watched Gurren Lagann?
I think I watched a little bit of it and never watched most of it. So,
Okay. Do not look up the Gurren Lagann attacks because they're spoilers for the show. And the ultimate attack is, I'll just say it, is the last attack in the show. And it is so cool. And it takes like 5 minutes to play out, but it is so cool. Those games they're really long though. They're like 70 hours. Even if you skip all the battle animations.
oh, really?
Yeah, but if you're like a fan of giant robots, like you can't go wrong with that series. It is so much fun. But what was the first Fire Emblem you ever played?
It was Awakening.
Really? That's a lot of people actually.
It was a lot of people. I mean, I had seen people play Path of Radiance on the GameCube. One of my buddies was really into it while we were in high school, and I saw him playing, and I was like, "Ah, that's kind of interesting." But I just want my turn-based RPGs. So I kind of just flew off of it. And then when the 3DS, what was that? Within the first year or so, when that game,
I
when
think
Awakening
so.
came out, I was just looking for a good game, a good RPG on the system, and it hadn't gotten its foot and started releasing thousands of RPGs yet. So I was all there, and I was like hunting on like Metacritic just to see what I could filter out and see what was decently ranked. And then up at the top, very top, Fire Emblem Awakening. I was like, damn, is that game that good? I was like, fuck it. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna try it. Let's see how it goes. And fell in love with it. And that I'm pretty sure that was the game that restarted me getting into more strategy RPGs from then on out. Now I just buy them whenever I find them. I'll try to play them all as much as I can. I buy retro ones that I never touched, especially like on the PS2, Eternal Poison, or the Sky games, anything like that. I pick those all up, and with the plans of playing them, I just love it, love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, Eternal Poison's on mine too. Yeah, see, a lot of people that I've asked this question to, which admittedly is just all our friends, they all say Awakening was their first one. Mine was the one on the GameCube. And I'll admit, like, after I didn't put in a significant amount of time, I think the permadeath really turned me off. And at that point, I had already played Disgaea, and I appreciated the zaniness more, especially since each like battle is kind of like an episode from an anime. So it's like you have like a finite end. Like you're like, okay, I can save the game now. I can turn it off. But I have not
Mm-hmm.
played Disgaea 2. I've played one. I've played and finished 1, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, and 5.
What is, how many are there now? 7?
Yeah, 7. 7, and then there's
Okay.
a visual novel spin-off, which is crap. And then Disgaea 1 got a direct sequel that's stuck on the PS3. Disgaea D2.
Oh, that's right. I think I have that.
Yeah, they're if you the one thing I will say about that series, if you want to fully customize and maximize your team, you have to basically not use the named characters like your main characters. You have to like level them up. But because of how grindy it is, like you'll say, "Oh, I beat the game in 300 hours," but the game's really like 15. because you spent
Yeah.
so much time like leveling and de-leveling and leveling up a gunner, which is like a cowboy. He only shoots in a straight line, but the critical hit rate is like through the roof. So it's like one
Uh,
shot is like 9 million damage towards the end, stuff like that. But now
I
they've
forgot
like,
the ridiculous numbers.
yeah, but now they've kind of streamlined it a bit. I mean, some people don't like it. I appreciate it just because towards the end of the game, if you just want to finish it, you're like, okay, forget it. I'm going to use Laharl and everybody else. I'm just going to go for the win. I don't care anymore, which is kind of what happens to me most of the time if like it just takes too long, kind of like an open world game. But I also think strategy RPGs can just be overwhelming at times, I think. Like Final Fantasy Tactics.
I will get back to that one day. I promised myself I would.
Did you ever play Tactics Advance?
I did, actually. I played that one, actually. When I first joined the military, I was at technical training school. And one of my first few paychecks, I went and bought a Game Boy Advance and I bought Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
So you were
I
at
never finished it.
you were at tactical training school?
Technical
Oh,
training
I was
school.
about to say, oh.
I'm not that guy. So yeah, and at late nights, when I was on dorm guard duty or whatever, I'd just sit there up all night and I would just play my Game Boy Advance until the batteries went kaput, and then I would just have to sit there. But yeah, that I did play that one.
I never played that one. I never played that one or A2, which is, I mean, I don't know. Actually, here's
Is
a
that the one
question.
on DS?
Correct, yeah. Here's a
I have
question
that,
for
and
you.
I haven't played it either.
So when you saw Final Fantasy Tactics originally, when you saw like heard about it and whatnot, did you think it was going to be the same as Final Fantasy VII, or did you go in knowing it was inherently different?
I knew it was different, and I was really drawn to it because I thought the graphics, the art style, and everything was awesome. I was like, "Dang, this looks cool. I really like the way this was presented and stuff." But when I tried to play it, I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
The reason why I ask is because I originally bought Final Fantasy Tactics because of Final Fantasy VII, and hearing Cloud was a secret character.
Oh, okay. See,
I
no, I had friends of mine who told me about it first.
I was that kid. I literally bought it for Cloud, and now I can't stand the guy, um, except in remake. But I think the other really fun part about strategy games in general, and then we'll get to the game du jour, is that sometimes it's like when you figure out a battle, like, it's like the odds are stacked against you so much. And you can just, to your point, like you'll spend like an hour looking at the map and trying to figure out like how to move stuff around and whatnot. When you figure it out and it's like a systematic like breakdown of something, I get a huge sense of satisfaction. Like even in like games like, well, with the push turn system, like in your personas and your metaphor, where I'm just like, this guy hasn't taken an attack in like 5 turns. Like he's basically just sitting there and I'm just punching him in the face over and over again. Like, do you find a sense of satisfaction in that, or is it more the planning part between the two?
Oh, definitely both. I definitely love the planning, but I like to see that my plans go through and I get a satisfaction of how things turn out after the fact. And also can get very pissed when it doesn't go the way I thought it would go.
I was gonna say, so like, what happens when you see your plans starting to fall apart?
Oh, it's like, oh no, oh no. In my head, I'm like, this didn't go. God damn it. And then it's all going through, and I'm just yelling profanities to myself, and like, why did I do that? It's a frustrating moment, and then I'm like, I'm gonna have to do this all over again.
So, do you ever like? I know some games give you like you're able to go back in time or like rewind a turn,
Mhm.
which some people say you shouldn't do. But I'm like, listen, if you fat fingered end turn and you really meant to hit attack, I think that's a fair use.
Absolutely. because that's usually what happens. That's why it's mainly there, because oh, I didn't mean to move to that block, damn it, and then you could just go reverse. That's the block I meant to move into, or something like that.
Yeah, like I personally think it's like board game logic, like you may be like, oh no 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 no, like I meant this, like is it cool? And whoever's like running the show or whatever, like your buddies are just like, yeah, like whatever, you know. But
Yeah.
what are some of your favorite board games? Now I want to know this actually.
Group of my friends here, we play a lot of board games when we get together. And we play those big nasty ones with a billion pieces, takes up the whole damn table and stuff like that. I like Everdale. It's a lot of fun. It's woodland creatures, and you're just strategically planning, resource management, stuff like that. Um, the Feast of Odin, which is really interesting, very Nordic, and you're just going through year phases of gathering resources and items and stuff like that. Very heavy resource, even way more than like you would think of like Catan or stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we like the very big resource management strategy style stuff that takes you hours to play one game.
Interesting. Yeah, because I was gonna say like I as a kid like I liked Monopoly and stuff like that, but even when I tried, like I played Dungeons and Dragons for a little bit, and to me, just the pace is too slow. Like to your point, like while everybody
Mhm.
else is taking their turn, you're figuring out how you want to play and how you want to do it. And I'm just like, OMG, hurry the hell up. Like. And
Yes, I'm on
I,
the same board.
the only game
Don't take so damn long.
the, the only game I actually played where I didn't feel that was Sheriff of Nottingham. I don't know if you've ever played that one.
I haven't played it. I've heard of it though.
It's like a smuggling game. And the idea is you're trying to smuggle in like goods and stuff to Nottingham, and it's kind of like like a social game, I guess you could say. So I was playing with a group of my friends, and I'd never played before, and they play board games like once a week. Back when she lived in New York, and when I came, she told all of her friends, who I know most of, but they'd never played a board game with me. She's like, "Listen, Alex he's not here to have fun. He's here to sabotage the game. Okay." Like he will do anything in his power to make this awkward and to make this painful for everybody else. And this is a game where he gets to act. So you don't want him to do this. And like, what are you talking about? So I had to smuggle in. I was the sheriff of Nottingham, rather, and they were trying to smuggle in apples. So like, it's her brother's turn. And I like get up off the table, sit next to him, and I lean in close, and go, "Do you have any apples in that wagon? If you have any apples, I'm gonna find out. And I'm gonna get." He just starts laughing. He goes, "Yeah, I got apples." And she goes, "See, you see." He's not even doing it right. He's supposed to interrogate you. He's just making you laugh, and he's looking at your cards, which I actually was. So I knew he had apples. But like, and after that, she's like, "All right, Alex, you're watching. Like, you can't play anymore." but
You got banished.
but yeah, I was like, "Yeah, but my strategy works." And then her husband was like, "Yeah, Alex would actually be like a really good like interrogator, just because it's like he just gets people to admit things." Um,
Yeah.
but that was the first and last time. But yeah, that's really the only one I really play. I tried to play. I mean, as a kid, I played Fireball Island. I don't know if you remember that one.
I remember Fireball Island. Hell yeah.
They do a Kickstarter reboot of that.
Yeah, I think they tried to. There's a couple that went through some old games
Did you
like
ever
Dark Tower
try?
and stuff like that.
Did you ever try any of those big like dungeon crawling board games like Hero Quest and stuff?
We tried Hero Quest once. It was in middle school. We all got all excited to make our heroes, and get that all designed. And we started the game, and then let's go. Hey, my brother just got Sega Channel. You want to go play that instead? Hell yeah, we do. All right.
Toe Jam and Earl forever. So here's a follow up to all that. So the reason why I'm going to the board game thing, Baldur's Gate, and I know you played Baldur's Gate 3. given the battle system is really tied to Dungeons and Dragons, and given the way that that game plays, I actually think, is it a Dungeons and Dragons dice roll game? Absolutely. I think it's more of a strategy battle system than anything.
Absolutely.
And I've had
Just has
some,
some dice rolls.
yeah, and I feel like honestly, I couldn't stand the battle system in Baldur's Gate 3. It like agitated me to no end. Um, Especially like even if you tweak uh, the difficulty, it just adjusts your HP values. It doesn't. It's the dice rolls. Like I'm like I just don't want a hard one anymore because I think I rolled a one crit fail like 5 times in a row once.
Ouch.
Yeah, I was just like I was like this game hates me. Um, but in terms of the positioning and all that stuff, I always find that to be really like if you're like let's say you're infiltrating like a warehouse, and you don't have any thieves, you don't have anybody with sneak, and if you're like me, it's all archers and glass cannons. You kind of have to pick where your characters are, so when they attack, whoever they're attacking has to get to that person while the other ones are still taking pot shots at it. So it's kind of like
Hmm.
a like kiting, I guess you could say, or as we used to say in Final Fantasy 11, marathoning something back and forth. Um,
Yes. Um, yeah, but definitely agree. Baldur's Gate 3 is definitely a heavy strategy game because there's so much RNG in it. You have to really plan positioning, areas of attack. Don't plan on good dice rolls. Never plan on good dice rolls. And so you
no.
have to rely on your strict numbers that you do have and always plan for the lowest roll, and you will be fine. And I think the only reason why I love that battle system so much is because I'm a fan of Divinity, and a lot of that battle system came from Divinity. They just had to
Mm-hmm.
add the dice roll mechanics and stuff like that on top of it. So love Baldur's Gate 3. I'm currently still playing my second run through on honor mode with a buddy of mine. So we're doing well so far. I can say that.
What
I
kind
haven't
of
died.
character you're rocking?
I'm writing what doing a what we call a Titan bow Ranger Rogue. So it's a very unique bow that you can get very early in the game, and its main emphasis is that it increases your attack um, by the amount of strength you're getting from temporary statuses.
Hmm.
So, say you had an 8 strength on a Ranger because you don't need a lot of strength. You're a Dex build. You would drink a potion of Hill Giant Strength and it immediately maxes out your strength. So now your attacks all of a sudden hit for an additional 13, all of them. So I built around that and doing added like rings that would add us acid damage, do all kinds of stuff that just tinked up more and more damage, more and more damage to the point where this is the main damage dealer in our party. Is this one has to sneak in and just completely obliterates everything. They just got to make sure that that ranger stays alive.
Oh man, that is so cool. That is so cool. That's like I think like stuff like that. That's like why I love Final Fantasy 12 as much too. It's just like, and I know I mentioned this to you earlier. You give Bosch a katana and berserk him and just leave the room, you'll come back 10 levels higher. Like it's just, it's like finding stuff like that and just going, what? And Star Ocean is great with that too. Like and these aren't even strategy RPGs. It's strategizing to get the most bang for your buck out of these characters, right?
Yeah.
But going into a game like Shining Force, which has
Mm.
none of that stuff because it is a very basic game, to be completely honest, I was kind of alarmed, to say the least.
I was too. And real quick, because I want to throw in something. I want to throw in some honorable mentions to some other strategy RPGs before
Oh,
we move on
absolutely.
to the Coup de Grace. First one I want to talk about a little bit is Stella Glow. Did you ever play that on the 3DS?
No, that's on my. I should have put that on the list actually. Oh, maybe
Stella
later.
Glow, yeah, is a fantastic, very heavy and anime themed, but the strategy combat in it is excellent, especially with all the magic and the different songstresses who sing different songs to add different values to your attacks and stuff like that. Really well made, excellent. Probably one of my favorite 3DS games. Also, want to talk a couple modern ones because we already talked A Record of Agri's War, Dragon
Yeah.
Force, stuff like that. But some modern ones besides Baldur's Gate 3, The Last Spell is an indie
That
game,
is a
and
that is a game. That is a game.
it is so much fun. So it's a roguelike strategy game. So you can keep going until you die and stuff, but you'll regain, you retain some of your stats and stuff like that before your next run. But it is so much fun what they put together where you're defending a town strategy wise, and you could, had some light tower defense mechanics that you could use and stuff like that. But it was all based about your characters running around and defending your village. And
I love the sound.
great music.
I love the soundtrack of that game.
So good. And the other one was I briefly mentioned was Unicorn Overlord. And that one has excellent. If you're into strategizing, like min-maxing to the deepest level, Unicorn Overlord is for you, because you have to plan each of your armies and each unit in that army. You want to make sure they matched close together. You want to make sure these attacks work well together. They got to have certain equipment so they can all combo off each other and boost each other. And that's just for one little army, because you're running with probably up to 12 of them in a battle. And you want to just, it's a strategist wet dream is Unicorn Overlord.
I still have to play that one too.
Oh, you should.
Oh, but The Last Spell's I can't believe I forgot about that one. That one is I played that on PC. That game is just so good. It's hard when you first start though. Like you're kind of like, I have all these really cool heroes and all these really cool abilities. I don't know what any of this stuff does.
Just keep playing it. You'll learn what different types of troops, and you get random ones to begin with every time. You're like, oh, what do I start this run with?
It is, but the music is what makes it. But yeah, dang, those are some good. I really have to get to Stellar Glow. How long is it?
I don't remember it being too long. I think I finished it about 45 hours, roughly.
The joys of an RPG when you can say, this isn't long, it's only 45 hours.
Well, nowadays we're used to this one's 90 plus.
90?
100 plus.
That's light work.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, man. But yeah, so, and Shining Force is, in all senses of the word, light work. I don't know how, it took me like 30-ish hours. I don't know how it took me that long. I mean, I know why it took that long, because the maps are massive and you kind of just run around like a jerk half the time.
Well, some of those battles take quite a while. I mean, you're talking Fire Emblem length on some of those battles that just will take you a while to get done.
With half of the stuff to do, to be fair.
That is true.
I know everybody says the second one. For the record, folks, we played the original Shining Force, which we did through a roulette. And as both fans of tactics RPGs, like this made complete sense. I did not realize when people say, oh, Shining Force 2 is better. It's not that it's better. It actually just has stuff, because the first Shining Force is literally go from point A to point B and kill everybody on the map 12 times. And that's it.
Yep. I mean, for its time, though, it was pretty cutting edge. It looked great, especially. Blew out the first Fire Emblem. I mean, as far as aesthetics go.
I was going to say, like, this game is ultimately Sega's version of Fire Emblem, but I also think it's the Diet Coke of Fire Emblems because of how lightweight it is in terms of, I mean, truthfully, I don't really think, I honestly didn't strategize anything until the end. I kind of was just, and the bridge level with the cannon.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty much it. That was pretty much it. Everything else was just, send in, what was the main character's name? Max?
Yeah, I named him something else, but yeah, I'm pretty sure, it was Max.
I just sending him in and just have him wailing on people, and that was pretty much it. Um, but what I really appreciate about this game is the different characters you can find, because you can't recruit everybody. Like, you have to look for them. And there's one character who is really good. It's the guy who basically is wearing a tank.
Yes, the armadillo looking dude.
The armored elephant guy, like, you have to like go back
Yeah,
and talk to him like 5 times or something at different points of the game, otherwise he won't join you. You give him plus movement stuff, dude, he literally just bulldozes over everything. Nothing can kill him. It's
yeah, he was
ludicrous.
great.
It is ludicrous. And even like the mages, like I had 2 mages, the princess and then the first mage you get. And
Oh yeah, that elf chick.
yeah,
I
one is
think
fire,
she was.
one is ice. And then
Hmm.
and then I had archers. Um
Oh yeah,
but I also didn't realize like the game's kind of all over the place too. Like in terms of
yeah.
what it wants to be. Like the way it ended, I was like, no spoilers, obviously, but I was like, what? Like,
Yeah,
what?
it was
What
a
is
weird
it?
ending.
What is this '90s flim flam? Because Dragon Force kind of did the same thing, if you think about it.
I mean, yeah, to a point it did, especially depending on which um, continent you decided to go with. It definitely had some questionable endings.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I wasn't put off by it. But I felt like I was kind of just going through motions with this game. To be completely honest, by the end, I feel like I just went through motions to get through it.
Yeah, that was kind of my feeling as well. The battles were starting to bleed together a lot, unless we had a special one like the cannon level or something like that. But a lot of the battles were ended up getting a little kind of frustrating because I was like, this is more of the same, more of the same, more of the same.
Yeah. And even like the characters, I mean, what I really liked is every character kind of had a personality, but you only
Yeah,
got that if you went to the secret base, which apparently you have a secret base in every town, FYI.
they're all connected.
And everybody knows where it is, which is even funnier. Um,
Even the bad guy apparently.
yeah, even the bad guy, because he shows up in the middle of it. Um, but I feel like where Suikoden does it better is they give you like a taste of their background and their story, and their dialogue isn't written so literally, you know? Like the girl from the beginning who loses her dad, the whole game she's just like, I will avenge my dad, I will avenge my dad, I'm going to avenge my dad, yeah, I avenge my dad. Like there's no emotion or personality in it, you
Yeah,
know? Except when it actually happens. Like I mean, admittedly this is on the Sega Genesis, but like I've seen better writing from the earlier Fire Emblem games. Suikoden had really good writing, and that translation is horrendous by comparison, you know?
yeah.
Because I do feel like this Shining Force game plot was written by a teenager, to be honest. Like, it was like, what's cool? Like, we'll put it all together.
Well, and to be fair, I'm pretty sure the original planning for this game was that it was supposed to be like when they finished making everything in a whole, it was a 40 meg game
Oh,
where
it
it ended up
was.
being what, a 4 meg game. So they had to cut a lot of crap out, apparently, from what I read.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that. And you played it on the Genesis Collection, or did you use sorcery?
Yes. I thought about using sorcery because I have that shit readily available, or I could have used the Mega SG or something. But for convenience sake, and I knew I would just be doing a battle here and there and stuff, I went with the Switch Genesis Classics.
That fast forward option didn't help enough to be.
It did not.
The game is super duper slow, and I would even argue that the Fire Emblem, that the NES game, I mean, to your point, this looks worlds better, sounds worlds better, looks worlds better, but that game handles so much smoother than the original Shining Force. And I
Hmm.
appreciate what they did. Like when I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, I can definitely see where They were riffing off of Fire Emblem. I can definitely see where Fire Emblem took some ideas. I can see where Suikoden got some ideas, you know,
Yeah.
in terms of always having like a main character kind of unite people from different races and, you know, the idea of equality and all that stuff, not equality, camaraderie and everything else. Like, I love all that. And I could definitely see where this game kind of started all that, but it doesn't really do anything with it. It's kind of just like, wouldn't it be cool if we had a guy who's like a hawk and he can fly?
Dude, this is fantasy, right? And the
Yeah.
old world was sciencey and shit, so let's
My,
do centaurs and hawkmen and a flying octopus dude.
and then Suikoden's like, I have a better idea. Let's have 5 squirrels. Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I'm happy I played it. Like, I feel like it definitely reminded me about what I love about the tactics genre, only because none of it was in this game. And I'm coming down hard
No,
on it, but I also realize stuff like this had to occur so everybody else could run. So I appreciate what it did. But going
it
back to
did
it,
take some steps for the
yeah,
genre,
yeah.
particularly in the battle presentation, what they showed and what they could do with sprite work and how they would animate the battles and stuff like that. That was phenomenal. Still holds up today.
I mean, Fire Emblem is still doing it, you know?
They do the same thing as Shining Force, pretty much, and just pretty it up.
And it's Camelot that made this game, right? I think.
Yeah, yeah, and they moved on to making stuff for Nintendo. Really,
Yeah,
future
the
Golden Sun and
Golden
sports games and
Sun.
shit.
Yeah, Mario Tennis and all Mario Golf. Yeah, Mario Golf and Mario Tennis, I think. I mean,
Yeah,
I've never played I do have Shining Force 2 and 3 as well. And I do think I want to play those. More
same.
so because I want to see what they expounded on, because they can't do any less if if you
No,
ask me. um
I mean I'm very interested in playing Shining Force 2 in
yeah.
the near future. I think.
But if you had played this before you played anything else, like, you know, your Final Fantasy Tactics and your Dragon Forces, do you think this would have left a good impression on you, or do you think you would have been like, I don't know, this isn't for me?
I I probably would have fell off of it because there just wasn't enough substance in between to keep me more engaged at that time when I was discovering RPGs and stuff. I would have liked the way it looked. I thought this, oh man, this is spectacular for a time, but the pacing was pretty bad.
The pacing is bad. The maps are just way too. I mean, honestly, when it was like we have to go to this town, I was like, okay, cool. And then I exit the town. I'm in a battle. I'm like, whoa, wait, what? Like, you mean I have to fight my way across an entire desert? Like this, like they've been fighting nonstop for, I guess, 3 weeks. You know, like, and it's not like one of the, like, you can't really grind either.
No, you pretty much grind. Your method of grinding is fight as many as you can and let them kill max. And then you'll res with the same, you'll retain all your experience at the church or whatever.
Yeah,
And then you go and do it again, let them die. And that's how you can grind.
yeah, which is broken inherently. But here's my question for you. Like, before we get off of this game, the last boss, and I warned you. I said this last boss is actually hard. Did you find it hard?
Yes, because I did die the first time. Um, it was annoying. Without giving too much spoilers, I could just say the boss had exuberant amount of HP, and to the point where you didn't know how much was there, and you didn't know how to plan properly because you could kind of figure out how much your guys generally hit for and stuff like that. So you could, hey, can I go all out this turn in the hopes that I kill him? And then he starts wiping a lot of my guys out, but that was not the case, unfortunately. So I died and had to replan for what I knew, go back into the fight, and attack it differently.
Yeah, I when I first went into it, I didn't realize like I was like, okay, there's 3 parts. I've played enough RPGs to know what I'm supposed to do. What I did, but to your point, I didn't realize each part attacks independently. So
Yes.
I had everybody in such a spot where all 3 parts could attack the same guy at the same time, and one guy falls down, the other guy falls down, then I'm left with like Max and one other person. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm, to your point, trial and error. I realized the error of the strategy and I had to go back and do it again. But if there was like a permadeath in this, oof,
Ooh.
oof.
Permadeath in this game, I would have been screwed.
I would have cracked the switch in the, no, I used the analog. I would have cracked the analog in half.
I bet.
I would have been so furious. But I did read on the GBA remake, they added stuff, and they added a character, I think, where you have to collect cards, and basically he takes on the traits of whichever card he's using. So like he could have like a card of one of the wizards, and then he basically attacks like the wizard, you know. And then he can give special abilities, like with archers. If you give an archer the archer special ability, their range goes up like 2 spaces, so they can attack.
Oh, hell, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so I was like, oh man, I really wish I went through with the GBA version instead of feeling guilty and going back to the Genesis version and playing it that way. But everybody says it makes the game way too easy, and I'm like, it was already kind of easy until the end, but that last boss, it really would have helped. Like, truthfully, because I was basically doing like attack, run away, attack, hope for the best, hope for a crit. Okay, like there was a lot of that, and then I have Max in this on the wings with like 2 HP left, can't use them, until the very end. And then the boss throws up one more surprise, and I was like, "You got to be freaking!" Oh, thank God, And then that was that.
Yeah.
But I think if I played this as my first strategy game, I don't think I would have been as hot on the genre growing up. I think it would have taken a Fire Emblem Awakening to get me back into it. To be completely fair,
Agreed.
there's just nothing going on here, like anything wise, except for the bridge battle. Like that, the bridge battle was difficult, but I had fun with it because you had to plan it out, and you had to take stock of what's going on with the cannon and how many turns were left. But everything else was just the same over and over.
It was. It's a game of its time, I guess.
Did you ever try Dark Wizard on the Sega CD?
No, I haven't played it yet, but I do have it.
Check it out. I kind of liked it, but it was too slow for me. But what you have to do in it, it's like a little bit of Dragon Force in there. I think you dig it.
Ooh, okay. Might have to.
Yeah. All right. So I guess that's it for for Shining Force. I think on a scale of 1 to 10, it's I guess it's like a 6.5 for me, to be fair.
No, that's about what I was thinking. I was thinking around a 6. It was really cool, probably for its time. Highly presentable. Had some good mechanics, like you could talk to NPCs and stuff in between battles and do all that stuff, which was kind of cool for RPG elements, especially for a strategy game during that era. But it's really slow, and the combat didn't have enough variety to keep you more engaged in between the different battles.
Yeah.
And the music kind of repeated itself often and kind of got a little annoying in some of them.
Yeah, it was not the battle theme from Vey by far. That is like the most banging battle theme ever.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, all right. So now we have to decide what we'll be playing next time on Emperor Fox Guests on Video Games Gaiden.
Exciting.
So what I have here is a super complicated way for me to pick the next game that Emperor Fox and I are going to play. There'll be 3 spins. First 2 spins will eliminate a game from the list, and the last spin will be the spin or be the game that we're going to play. So first game to be eliminated. Golden Sun has been removed.
Damn.
Second spin. Oh, man. Etrian Odyssey Untold has been removed.
Another damn. Okay. There's plenty of good stuff left.
And the game we're playing is OMG. Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3.
I'm okay with that.
All right, so there we go.
Land.
We're playing Wario Land. No long ass RPG this time. This is exciting.
It is exciting. I guess we'll have another episode sooner rather than later now.
Yeah, it'll be a change of pace, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. Get that analog pocket out and we'll get it some good use.
Yeah, pretty much my thought process. So, my dude, where can everybody find you other than the YouTube, or is it pretty much the same?
It's pretty much the same. It's usually only on YouTube. You can find me with Emperor Fox, where my Get Video Game stuff is. Or if you like Alex and like to enjoy watching people crack open packs of TCG cards, you can find me on Crackin packs.
Awesome. Thanks again for coming on, and we'll see you all in the next one where we play Wario Land.
Yay, Wario Land.
I'm going to win. Bye.